Jealousy is a human emotion, but when it's directed towards you from someone that you hold dear, it hurts a little more than you could ever have imagined. In this video, we're going to be discussing an episode of Daria where Jane has a brush of popularity and Daria basically loses her mind because of it. Jane signs up for the track team to impress a guy and Daria feels some type of way about it. Let's discuss how Daria spirals into full hater mode in season 2, episode 11, titled See Jane Run. What's good, guys? It's Alissa. If you're new here, hello. First and foremost, y'all know I gotta get the promo out of the way. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. All that information is in my description box down below. I do have a second channel where I post more lifestyle content, and I do have a Sims channel where I post every day except Saturday and Sunday. If you like The Sims and you like Sims content, you should definitely check out that channel. And I also want to thank my patrons over on Patreon. You guys get early access to this video and an inside look on what I work on next. I appreciate your support beyond my YouTube channel, but of course, just watching this video is more than enough, and I appreciate all my subscribers and I appreciate all my viewers, even if you're not subscribed, but I mean, you might want to subscribe to the channel to stick around. But anyway, let's get into it. The episode starts with Daria and Jane in PE when their PE teacher slash coach, Miss Morris, tells them that it's focused on agility month. Daria is skeptical of this and claims that it's just a not so sneaky way of squeezing in a cheer practice in a gym class. Jane loses focus mid self-righteous speech when she sees a cute guy walk into the gym. Daria implies that Jane was drooling over this cute guy that walked into the gym, but Jane claims that she was just looking at his running shoes because she was thinking of buying them. This is of course BS. But Miss Morris then calls on Jane and Daria for their non-participation in class, claiming that Jane's just like her sister, not wanting to fit in and always having to be apart from the group. Jane's family is unconventional. Her mom leaves her children alone for long stretches of time, and the other members of the household just pop in whenever. Most of the show, we only ever see Jane and Trent at home, and Jane actually has like 3 other siblings. In this case though, Miss Morris is talking about Jane's sister Penny, who we actually get to see in season 3. Later, we overhear a conversation between school jocks Kevin and Mac, where Mac is anxious about how hard the test was in their ethics class, having a feeling he didn't pass. When Kevin agrees that the test was hard, Mac realizes that Kevin wasn't even in class. Kevin admits that he got a bye on this ethics test, and this rubs Mac the wrong way because he's also a member of the football team.
I was excused. I didn't have to take the test. Coach talked to the teacher and I got by.
You mean you got a bye?
Yeah, that's it. Coach says I gotta maintain a C average to stay on the team, so he took care of it or something.
Now, in real life, I never realized that athletes only had to maintain a C average in school. Like, I think this show made me realize that because I'm thinking back to high school, and if I had athletes in my class, they would just be sitting in class, messing around, not really paying attention, coming into class late, and this makes a lot of sense. This adds context to my own life. But anyway, overhearing this conversation makes Jane think about how her grade is slipping from a C average to a straight D. She now has to go study, but Daria jokes that she's not actually about to be studying. When she goes to study hall, she's gonna be napping.
You know me too well.
However, having to stay after class to make up PE, Daria comes home late and her dad Jake is concerned. Daria points out that Quinn is always coming home at this time, and this sets off Jake's imagination, making him think that Daria is seeing someone, assuming she's making excuses the same way Quinn does. But sometimes I feel like I'm a lot like Daria in this way because her sarcasm is hard to read at times. Like in a situation like this, where Jake actually wouldn't mind if she told the truth that she was really out seeing a boy and he just wants to know what his daughter was up to. But instead, her sarcasm is being read as factual and it's confusing his brain, making him short circuit.
Oh, if someone named Knuckles calls, it's for me.
Back at school, Evan, the cute track guy that Jane liked, set up a booth to accept new members for the track team. And after rapidly firing off a bunch of virtue signaling statements about gender equality and women's strength and women can do everything a man can do, Jane is finally convinced to join the track team, leaving Daria in shock. Even Miss Morris is surprised that Jane, who barely participates in PE, would sign up for an even more physically taxing activity like running track. But Miss Morris failed to realize that PE doesn't involve a cute guy. And surprisingly, Jane makes the team. Well, not really that surprisingly. Jane is actually extremely talented when it comes to track and field. But when she goes to tell Daria at their lockers, Daria just stares at her.
So you made the track team?
Yeah. This is the part where you say, hey, way to go, congratulations.
Hey, way to go.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Now don't get mushy on me.
And in her alone time, Daria's initial reaction to Jane's new extracurricular activity is to think that it's kind of pathetic. This is the beginning of Daria's spiral. In my personal opinion, it's not like Daria and Jane hang out all the time when Daria's at home, but I feel like Daria more so had a problem that Jane is unavailable to be there for her when she needs to speak and be at her beck and call when she just wants to call her or speak to her. Jane is now occupied with doing something else, similar to her attitude in The Misery Chick, in my opinion. Later in that episode, Jane had expressed that she was taking some time away from Daria and away from everyone else to process her thoughts after expressing why she had been so distant after former Lawndale quarterback had died. Summing it up perfectly, she basically says she doesn't want to say that she hopes someone dies and then they die. She doesn't want that kind of responsibility. Jane wanted some time away from Daria, who was upset and constantly brought up that death, but Jane didn't want to think or talk about that, and this offended Daria. I've said this before in previous videos, my unpopular opinions about Daria, I have a plethora of Daria videos on this channel, so I can't really narrow it down, but I've said that Daria works hard at what she's good at and what she knows she's good at, but she avoids doing things that she's not good at out of fear. So she sees Jane trying out for the track team as pathetic because she believes that they have this unspoken agreement not to try. She eventually does grow past these fears as the show progresses, and we definitely see her actively work through those fears in the college movie, Is It College Yet? But this spiral is so concerning that when Daria's mom Helen notices her talking to herself in her room, she asks her sister Quinn to spend more time with her by bribing her with a gold card. Now, Daria sees right through this and just wants a cut. Back at school, the first thing Daria says to Jane is a sarcastic jab about her progress on a big sneaker endorsement. A lot of people won't admit it, but Daria comes off as a hater sometimes. I really do feel like her cynicism is really just a cover for her envy and discomfort for change. And I know a lot of us have experienced this with just putting ourselves out there and trying, and when you start to progress, the people in your personal life have these like weird things to say about it, when really it's just backhanded envy. People will say stuff like, wow, you're really confident to wear something like that, or oh, look at you finally getting paid to post those selfies, for people that are trying to be in the social media field. And I feel like I get a lot of stuff like that with making these videos for you guys in my personal life, which is why I don't really be telling people what I do. And it sucks that Daria came at her with that energy, because Jane was coming over to ask for Daria's support at her track meet. Daria does agree to go, but once Jane walks away, Daria mutters to herself, questioning if she's supporting her friend or her friend's surrender to the system. So dramatic. At Jane's track meet, Trent and Daria end up sitting together, and Trent goes on this unsolicited rant about Jane doing something, but wonders what it's all for.
What she's doing takes guts. All that practicing, day in, day out. And what for? So a crowd of drunks can make your art the backdrop to their pathetic mating dance? They don't care about your dream. They just want something loud going on so they don't have to talk.
Now, this is clearly him subliminally talking about his own music career with his band Mystic Spiral, but he did make some good points. Putting yourself out there takes guts. Some of you guys actually do message me and ask, how is it that I get in front of the camera and I upload and I post and, you know, I put out this confidence, and they're scared of how their videos will be received if they do it, or they're just scared to talk in front of the camera. And my best advice that I could give was just to do it. All you have to do is do it. You are gonna work through those growing pains. It's not gonna be something that just comes to you. Some people it is, some people it's not. For me, it's 50-50, where some days it's like, yeah, I can sit in front of the camera and be like, hey guys, but you guys see the final cut version. Like, I cut out all the times that I stutter or fumble over my words. Sometimes I say things multiple times and then put in the best version of what I said. So the product that you guys see is literally the perfect version of what I filmed. Just wanted to put that out there. But the best advice I can give is just to do it. You will learn to come into your own as you continue to do it, and it's gonna be trial and error. But anyway, I say all that to say I think that that's Daria's dilemma. She loves to write, but she only writes for herself in her diary or for a school paper where she's gonna be graded on it, even though this is her talent. Yes, it's uncomfortable and awkward to put yourself out there, and yeah, when something you worked really hard on doesn't land the way that you hoped and everybody saw it, it is kind of embarrassing. I put out a very good substance video, by the way, on the movie with Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley that I thought was gonna do really good. I thought you guys would really like to see it, but you know, it didn't do as good as the other videos on my channel. And I wouldn't say that's embarrassing. That has happened to me so many times on this channel that you just move on past it. But if you would like to check out that video, go ahead and watch it after this one. But there is something powerful about letting people witness your missteps. When you fail in front of people, you're not just exposing your flops. You're showing your humanity. You're letting people know that, hey, I tried, it didn't go how I thought, but I'm still here. And that's real. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with the process. They connect with the passion. Whether it's 2 people that saw it or 20,000 people, most of us are just trying, failing, and learning, then having to do it all again. And honestly, that's inspiring.
You thought you'd gone from here to here, but it turns out you never went anywhere. It means you haven't peaked yet.
But I say all that to say Jane didn't flop publicly. She actually wins, and she wins again, and she wins again. Jane tried at something and it worked out. And in this moment, everyone, even Daria, in her own little way, is proud of her. But back at the pizza parlor, Daria gets irritated when Jane's newfound fans keep interrupting their conversations. Really, it's just Jane's other friends congratulating her on her accomplishment, which is what Daria should be doing as her best friend, right?
So anyway, this one parakeet was really ticked off at its owner for not changing its water.
Hey, teammate. Did you see this girl run like the wind?
Have you ever heard her break wind?
Daria!
But instead, Daria lashes out and embarrasses Jane in an attempt to run these people away. In my opinion, I really do feel like Daria was trying to burst Jane's bubble. And I feel like a lot of us have experiences like this with fake friends. I talked about this in my Proud Family video in the episode with the makeover, how when you start to elevate or do things differently, your friends start to treat you differently. And it's so unfortunate because this happens a lot, especially when boys get in the mix. And I've said this before, I feel like Daria and Jane's relationship lasted as long as it did because they didn't involve boys or love interests, to be more general, in their friendship too much. Once they added a little guy in the mix, that's when it all exploded. Evan comes over. Right. Hey. Evan comes over to congratulate Jane on her win, saying that she ran like the wind. But Daria ruins this moment, joking, saying, "Have you ever heard her break wind?" Jane, of course, is immediately embarrassed by this, and Daria just continues the conversation like she didn't just say something off the wall. Then, popular couple Brittany and Kevin get caught in the fallout. After Kevin makes a comment about how everyone is gonna wanna be Jane's friend now that she's a cool jock, this triggers Daria.
Not like those boring friends you used to have who liked you even when you lost.
You mean the ones who made incredibly humiliating jokes at my expense?
Oh, come on.
But if Daria was a real friend, she would appreciate Jane when she's a winner and a loser, not acting weird when Jane is now elevating and doesn't have all the time in the world to be with Daria. And Jane calls her out on this. And I found it funny that all Daria could say after Jane called her out was, "Come on." It's always funny that when people are in the wrong, they don't be having nothing to say after that, or they just be saying anything. But Jane leaves Daria right where she had her fucked up at, and even Brittany and Kevin walk off, leaving Daria in her own negativity. I love how the show continues to connect the character flaws and the character growth of each character as the seasons progress. In my opinion, I've done a video on this. It's an episode called Partner's Complaint. And I feel like the dilemma that Jane and Daria are in this episode connects perfectly with the dilemma that Daria was having in that episode. In Partner's Complaint, Daria has a moment of self-reflection, coming to the conclusion, to herself at least, that she's a rigid, unrealistic, unforgiving, self-righteous jerk who can't hold on to a friend. In the beginning of that episode, Daria had not been kind to Jane, and she hadn't been handling her friendships with care when it comes to addressing an issue that she has, like like her issue in that episode with Jane constantly talking about her relationship that she got into with Tom, and her issue with Jody in the bank representative, where Jody brought up her father Andrew Landon, who is an affluent businessman, in order to get Daria and her the loan for their school project. Sometimes when it comes to Daria, her beliefs are not nuanced. She doesn't look at the big picture or try to see things from a different perspective. This causes friction in situations where she believes that she's right and she's firm on her own beliefs. So with Jane, she feels that she's constantly talking about her boyfriend Tom and suddenly worships him, but Jane doesn't see it that way. And with Jody, of course, in that episode, the situation was a lot more nuanced, and if you want to see me deep dive into that, you can definitely go watch that specific video, but I feel like Daria could have been more understanding in that situation. Even though they both didn't receive that loan due to being high-risk teenagers, the intersectionality of that situation was that Jody is a black girl who was not being taken seriously and prejudged off the basis of her skin color. Daria has a very matter-of-fact point of view of life and doesn't apply nuance to her own beliefs, especially when applied to others. So she believed that in that moment, Jody was being a hypocrite or being upset at the first bank representative for only taking them seriously when she brought up her dad, but when they went to the next bank representative, Jody made it a point to bring up her dad first in order to get them the loan. But Daria didn't like that. Daria felt like she had a pattern of alienating people with her self-righteous pronouncements. And in that moment, Daria's mom reassures her that people aren't that easily alienated, and that if she would just talk to Jane and tell her how she feels instead of making jabs or throwing subliminals, they can come to a point of reconciliation. Unlike that episode though, Daria actually apologizes in this one. She admits that she realizes that her joke humiliated Jane in front of someone that she liked.
Appreciate. This guy you appreciate.
Jane, however, thinks that Daria is just trying to get back on her good side, but when Daria says, "What's the difference?" she sees her point and accepts the apology because she'd just rather have her friend.
Not so fast. How do I know this is a sincere apology and not a cheap ploy to get back on my good side?
Why does there have to be a difference?
I accept.
But since they've been standing around just chit-chatting, Daria is scared that they're gonna get in trouble how they did in the beginning of the episode by Miss Morris for not participating in gym class. But Jane brushes this off, and Daria realizes, oh, right, she's an athlete now. She gets a pass.
Do you think it's hypocritical of me to accept favors from a woman I despise?
Does she have cable?
Let's find out.
They have the same conversation in this episode that they did in Partner's Complaint about being hypocritical. Jane is not an academically inclined student like, Jane is not an academically inclined student like Daria, but she knows she's athletically inclined, so she uses that to get a pass on her academics. Daria is okay with this in this scenario because she herself is not athletically inclined, so she's fine with getting out of PE. But when she realizes that Jane now uses this athlete's pass to get a bye on the math test, she is furious with Jane.
Well, aren't we confident? If I had as much trouble with... You got a bye on the test, didn't you?
I probably would have gotten a C anyway.
I can't believe it.
And again, Jane calls her out for also watching TV with her in the coach's office to get out of gym, but Daria doesn't see this as the same issue. After their back and forth, Evan comes over and says that it might be best that she cuts off Daria. Jane is confused, but she knows what he's getting at.
What's up with your friend?
Oh, I rubbed her self-righteousness the wrong way.
I don't know why you hang out with her anyway.
What do you mean?
Well, you're sort of a sports star now. It's not so cool to be hanging around with, you know, losers.
Yeah, you're right. I've been spending too much time with losers.
I'm glad you...
He tells her that now that she's a sports star, hanging out with losers like Daria is bad for her image. Should have known something was fishy about him when he was asking for validation from the fashion club.
What kind of loser would sign up for the track team?
You girls don't think I'm a loser, do you?
Evan's weird comment motivates Jane to quit the team and make amends with her friend. She admits that she just wanted to prove to Miss Morris that she wasn't a product of her long line of deadbeats, Trent included. But Daria's not fully convinced, because it's clear that Jane definitely had a crush on Evan too, but he turned out to be an idiot and she was embarrassed to admit the attraction. Mood. Jane also admits that she was starting to worry that she'd know as little as Kevin by the time she graduated.
You came out of kindergarten knowing more than Kevin.
Remind me of that when he gets his football scholarship.
After she quit the team, Jane gets back to school and is surrounded by the track team and Coach Morris begging and blackmailing her to come back. Jane says that she can bring her math grade up all by herself, proving that she's more than capable. She just doesn't apply herself. And I really do feel like in the show, Jane should have explored more of her talents, because I feel like the misconception of this show is that being a loner means that you're not capable, or that you can't be involved in extracurricular activities that you enjoy. And I feel like Daria definitely fell into that trope, but I think Jane fell into that with Daria because Jane is just lazy. And that's okay to admit. Sometimes you don't have to do things that you don't want to do. But when she actually applied herself and did it, it actually worked out because she's good at this stuff. And Daria didn't like that. Again, I've made this point before, but Daria looked down on everyone that was more extroverted and social, like her sister Quinn. And you know, they go through their emotions throughout the show, and I might do a video covering their relationship. She would talk down on people that were extroverted and networked, and she was having trouble getting into the college that she wanted to go to, but her boyfriend Tom was able to get into those doors because of who he knew. And that rubbed her the wrong way. And as much as she didn't value working on her social and communication skills, which her mom would always want to have her do because she understands the power of networking when you're trying to get into certain fields, this made it hard for Daria to ace her college interview. But like her mom said, life doesn't stop in high school. And I think that's the viewpoint that Daria had a lot of the time, until it was time to step into the real world and see how the real world actually operated. But anyway, there's a whole subplot of Quinn wearing these heels so that she can look better for boys. They were squeezing her feet and she was in absolute pain.
Like my new shoes? They pinch my toes and give me blisters, but they make my legs look hot, so I'm gonna buy another pair.
But by the end, she takes off the heels and everyone's like, oh, what happened to your heels? And she realizes that her legs look good no matter what she wears. And I feel like that wraps up this episode very nicely, saying that it's okay just being who you are.
If people don't like you if you're being yourself, fuck them!
In the end, Daria and Jane are forced to finally do the covert cheerleading practice in PE, but this time with actual pom-poms.
Come on, ladies. You've got a lot of work to make up.
Tell me that at least I have my integrity.
And Jane feels like her attempt to beat the system failed. But Daria wants Jane to be real and admit that she wasn't trying to reform a damn thing. She just played the game and lost.
You know what?
What?
They really are preparing us for the real world.
Like I said earlier, this episode definitely sets the stage for later ones like Partner's Complaint, where we kind of get into Daria's flaws and how she can be hypocritical herself while also calling out others for being hypocritical. And it also mirrors an episode like The F Word in season 4, which is actually the same season as Partner's Complaint, showing that Jane can be popular if she wanted to, if she chose to be. And I feel like this episode is relatable on so many perspectives, so y'all know I always leave y'all with some questions to answer in the comments. Has a friend ever made you feel bad for succeeding, or vice versa? And do you think Daria was genuinely worried about Jane changing, or was she scared of being left behind? And also, this is a more personal one. Would you rather fail quietly in private or take a shot and flop in front of everybody? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you would like to keep up with me outside of YouTube, you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can also subscribe to either one of my channels, my Sims channel and my lifestyle channel. Again, information in the description box down below. And if you made it to the end of this video, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit that notification bell to stay up to date with posts and uploads from me. But for now, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.